Welcome back to the Ignite Your Heart Masterclass. Today, I am so excited because I have Suzanna Kennedy with me. Welcome, Suzanna.
Thank you. So glad to
I'm
be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, it's my pleasure and my honor to host you. You are recognized in the spiritual community and really value all that you have to share today. So, for those of us who aren't familiar with your work, could you give us a brief introduction of who you are and what you do?
Okay. Well, who I am, I am. That is, I am. Um, well, I think the most important thing is to talk about the transformation that I went through, because I think a lot of people in your audience may be feeling this now. So I was in the corporate world and I was a master's degree and I designed training programs and performance solutions. And since I lived in the Detroit area, I our clients were the auto industry. And so I was a creative lead in creating these training programs. And so I was surrounded by men in the auto industry. And, I got very good at leading them and being creative and all of that. So I was very successful, but it just started to feel like um, I'm not I don't think I'm doing my sole purpose. I'm feeling this calling to something higher, something more. And I don't think, teaching guys how to run a car dealership is what I was put on earth to do. And so I was asking that question. And then one Saturday morning, the answer came. And it was in the form of this, what Hindus call a spontaneous Kundalini awakening. So this incredible energy running up my spine. It was electric, it was magnetic, it was fierce. It was like a freight train of energy. And I was like, what is going on here? And I heard a voice that said, you're giving birth to yourself. Just breathe. And so I had had two children. So I did the birthing breath, the Lamaze breath, and that helped me to cope with it and move with it. But it lasted for about an hour and a half. And when it was done, I felt like a completely new, different person, like somebody else had been born into my body. And I could feel this vastness of being, this huge, connected to everything, and this love and this um, power. It was incredible. But at the same time, I could still see the the old me, who I thought was me, and to me, it looked like a computer program in my, like a computer network through my cells. And I knew that it wasn't me, and it was the personality that I developed for this body in this lifetime. And it was like a computer program, and it was very limiting. It wasn't at all what I was experiencing now, and I knew if I didn't get rid of that somehow, delete those programs, I was not going to be able to be who I really am and do what I came here to do, because this new me came through with a very strong, clear vision and mission. And I wasn't sure at that moment what it was, but I knew I would find out. But I needed to get rid of the programming. So it was based on that need for me to get rid of the programming that I kept asking, how do I get rid of the programming? Well, that voice stayed with me, luckily, and guided me to a workshop that helped, that the workshop leader had a way to clear the subconscious programs and also the emotional pain that went with those programs. So we develop these beliefs about ourselves in the first 7 years. And it's like artificial intelligence that becomes who we think we are, our self-identity. And it's based on all of this that we're downloading from our family in the first 7 years. And it's creating your personality, or like in the video game world, you would call that your avatar. But it's not your soul. It's this false belief about who you are. So anyway, he had a way to do that. And I used that, and it was very effective. And I was so impressed that I certified in his modality and then started doing it for other people. Well, when I started doing it for other people, my guide, that stayed with me, said, we need you to evolve this to the next level, because so many people are going to be recognizing that they have limiting beliefs and repeating patterns and programs in their life, that no matter what they try to do, they still get triggered, and they still do that thing that they said they never were going to do again. And they're going to want this, and you're not going to have time to do these one-on-one sessions, because the way the sessions were created, they were, very dramatic releases. And so you had to be there very to support the person, really strongly. They wanted me to do it, evolve it, so that it could, so people could do it on their own, or that I could do it for a big group at the same time. So my emotional mental deprogramming system was born through those changes that I was guided to make, the evolution, to make it more graceful. And one of the things that made it more graceful is this triple flame energy. So divine love, divine wisdom, and divine power. And those frequencies in synergy help to clear the meridian pathways, the chakras and the meridian pathways, so that when you go to do that deeper work and call up those hidden programs, they can move through you in a graceful way, up and out, without having to re-experience the trauma that put it there. And so you don't have to remember, what the blocks were. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to process it. And so this makes it very graceful. And then recently I was guided to upgrade it again. And instead of being a digital program, which it is available, it's been available on my website for 20 years, and it's very effective. And it takes people from a third dimensional reality or third dimensional consciousness, clears the matrix programming, and then brings you into more of a fifth dimensional consciousness. But this new program that I'm doing, which is called Sacred Union Reprogramming, I'm doing it live with a small group of people, and they're moving through it together like once a week for 8 weeks, so that I can, help them to integrate it, because it's making changes even faster and deeper than it did before. And so I want to support people and give them all a chance to have the coaching that goes along with it to help them integrate it. So that's the kind of stuff that I do. And I also do something called reality crafting. So that is, I'm able to, tap into a person or even a group. And when they want an upgrade, a certain aspect of their life, I can tune in, and I know you might call it the reality codes, the holographic reality codes, the instruction codes of what's creating their life the way it is now. And then I, ask them how would they like that aspect of their life to show up, in a better upgraded way. And they, tell me that. And then I create an intentional command to give them what they want. And a lot of times they don't even know how to express it, but I'm able to see their potential, and we're working with one aspect of their life at a time. I'm able to see the full potential. So when I create the intentional command, it's, it's bringing them to their full potential. And
Mhm.
then I help them to clear all of the other codes, the subconscious stuff, the trapped energy, and whatever else might be contributing to having that aspect show up the way it is now. So we we create the new, clear out the old, and then anchor it in, and we get really quick results in that way. So that's what I call reality crafting.
This is so fascinating. Thank you for sharing all of that because, from just the normal perspective of how we used to heal in the past, it would be like becoming really aware of what we're feeling and going through our triggers and understanding, oh, hold on, like why am I being triggered and having to change that particular behavior to create the new reality we want to be in. There are the methods that your sacred union and reality correcting that can help shift. So, because this particular event is focused around relationships, could you give like examples as to first, why do people experience certain types of patterns in their relationships, how they're created, and then move into, well, how do we actually like
Yeah.
resolve this?
Okay. Well, our relationship patterns are created in those first 7 years. So we are downloading everything that goes on in our family. So we're going to adopt or adapt or absorb the relationship patterns that we see with our parents, or even if we're in like a um, one parent household, the attitude, the beliefs, the hurts and pains of the parent that you're with regarding the other parent, those get anchored in. And so uh, that's our relationship blueprint is created in those first 7 years. And then though, and why 7 years is because in those first 7 years, the brain researchers have found that the children are, it's mostly the right hemisphere of the brain that's active. Well, that just takes in everything. It downloads everything without any filters. And what our kind of our mind is trying to do, our artificial intelligence, is looking for patterns, because if it repeats, then it must be important. It must be who I am. And so it looks at those patterns and creates a belief about yourself and about relationships based on what is happening. And then around 7 years old is when the left hemisphere of the brain gets more active. And at that point, everything that was downloaded in the first 7 years is like locked in the subconscious, and the left hemisphere of the brain cannot access it. And even though it's in the subconscious, it has an incredible influence over us because, we have found that most people are not consciously present like 90 to 95% of their waking time. They're they're either in the past or they're in the future, or they're on automatic pilot. So that gives the subconscious more time to exert its influence. And so it's creating events in your life that are expressing those beliefs about yourself and about yourself in relationship. So that's what creates the reality, and that's why we see the repeating patterns. And so to clear that, you need to be able to access the subconscious programs and clear them out, and which is, you know, what I help people to do. And because I've identified what I call the 6 core issues that we all have in common, because we've grown up in the same world, and its foundation, its main programming error, you might say, is the illusion of separation.
Mhm.
And there's different ways that the illusion of separation creates these other core issues. So, and the first core issues that I work with people that has a big influence on relationships is working with the inner male and the inner female, and the false programming around that. And so, you know, what you want is to have a healthy relationship within yourself of your inner male and your inner female. Now, the inner male is going to be more related to the left hemisphere of your brain, the mind, the ability to process information, organize it, analyzing intelligence, and the protective energy of that. And you know, so that's when your inner male is healthy and mature. You know, and the inner female is more around the right hemisphere of the brain, and she is able to take in information that is outside of the 5 senses. So sometimes I call it the 6th sense, or, you know, the intuition, but really able to tap into the whole field of information and be sensitive enough to perceive it. But because we've been in this world where there's been more of a masculine dominance, a patriarchy, you know, that's gotten distorted in just about everybody. And so getting the inner male and the inner female to be healthy and mature is, and then work together instead of working against each other, or in many cases, the male dominating and oppressing the inner female and not allowing her to, or not allowing or even not giving value to the information that she has access to. And so you
Mhm.
want them both, you know, mature, healthy, working together in sacred union. So sacred union is a real theme in the work that I do. And I have a book. It's called Sacred Union, Ascending to a 5D Paradise. And the sacred union is first within yourself. So you want to be expressing your soul. So remember when I talked about, you know, creating that first 7 years, our personality, our avatar. If you go back to the metaphor of, you know, it's our soul playing a video game, and that's the one playing the game, and our avatar is the one that's in the video game. And we forget that we're the soul playing the game and believe that we're just the avatar. And so coming into sacred union is that place of really realizing that you are your soul, and to let your soul really come into your body and to be without any filter or distortion, projecting and radiating from your heart. You know, and so many people want a soulmate or a twin flame, but if their soul is not radiating clearly they're only going to attract somebody who mirrors the distortions and the filters. So having this clear sacred union within yourself first, and then it automatically happens. You start to attract people who are more, because you've come into a place of self-love and integration, and you're respecting yourself, you're having compassion for yourself, you're in that state of self-love, and then you attract people who can honor and respect. And I wanted a man who could really be head over heels in love with me for, and he has been for 22 years, and still pampers me and tells me every day how much he appreciates me, and can't do enough to support me. And and that wasn't how it was in my first marriage at all, but I hadn't gone through that process until later. And then once I did, I I put out a call. I'm like ready for my sacred union partner. And I had, gone through all of these initiations. And then I got to the point, there's um, I call it the twin flame merging, or the twin flame communion, or the twin flame sacred union.
Yeah.
So most people, when they think of twin flame, they think, or even soulmate, they think of somebody who's outside of themselves. But in most cases, the twin flame is not embodied in a physical form when you are. It's like one part stays out in the higher dimensions, and the other one incarnates, and you can merge with your twin flame. And then you feel that, or this is how I felt, and this is what my clients report, is you lose that painful longing. You're longing for that mate, and it hurts. And you think, once you get that, you're going to be happy. And this person will, fill in your holes or your gaps or whatever. And no, it's the twin flame that you're really wanting. And then that's what happened with me, is that longing went away. And I was just happy to be me. I was happy with my life. I felt complete, and I didn't long for anything or anybody, but it was like, it would sure be nice to share all this with somebody, you know. And so then I knew I was ready for my partner. And when I hear women that I've worked with, and when they get to that point where they say, well, I would just like the male version of me, which means they love themselves enough to have their own reflection back at them, then I know they're ready. And so when I got to that point, I created a list of, how do I want to feel in a sacred union relationship? What kind of relationship? What does that feel like? And I really had to go into like my fifth dimensional reality, because I'd never seen anything like that in my life, reflected back to me. No couples were showing me what I was feeling when I went into my heart and asked, how do I want to feel? And so anyway, I made a list. This is how I want to feel in a relationship, and put that out to the universe. And I met my partner 6 weeks later.
Oh my gosh.
And we've been together for, I think it's 22 years now.
That is
It keeps
beautiful.
getting better, and it keeps getting deeper, and our love keeps expanding, even though it doesn't seem like, well, how could it get any better? But then it does. And wow. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Susanna, for sharing that. And to kind of recap everything that you've shared, some of the highlights that I really picked up on was the the harmony, the harmonizing of the inner male and the inner female within you first, and going through that process to become ready to receive a sacred union, because otherwise you would be going through your old programming, and your outer reality would only be reflecting the parts of yourself that are still under the programming. And
Right.
once you went through that process, I was curious, did it take you a long time to do this process before you felt ready to call in your mate?
No, what happened was, going back to my other skills in the corporate world, I designed training programs, right? So what I did is I had already gone through the emotional mental deprogramming. And then I kept hearing the word sacred union. And so that's what my guides wanted me to teach, right? So I started downloading the information for the Sacred Union program. And it was 8 sessions at that time. Now it's 12 to help integrate more. It's called the Divine Human Upgrades at this point. And so that it was like 12 weeks, one initiation or one upgrade a week for 12 weeks. And that's how it is right now. And so when I started, I had downloaded the whole program and organized it into a course and all of that. And I was ready to teach it from the standpoint of, I have the information, but I kept saying, well, I can't teach it until I have a partner because, it wouldn't be authentic. I'm not a good model. And they kept saying, teach the program and your partner will come. And I'm like, so I argued with them for a little while. And then I finally surrendered. And because they finally said to me, it's not about an outside partner. It's about the sacred union with your higher self. And that I had achieved that. And so, I did finally put it out and I got a class together. I had 12 people and, it was maybe about the third week when he showed up.
Oh my gosh. So, one of the things I heard as you were speaking, you said you did the emotional and mental deprogramming beforehand. Would you say this is a requirement for those that are listening in? Is it a requirement to deprogram first before they get into the sacred union of the inner male, inner female?
Yeah, I would say yes to that because we all need this deprogramming. Every human does because that programming is obsolete. Even if you had like the best parents that were, loving and compassionate and empowering and all of that, it was their programming that they were passing down. And then the programming that happens also, from the media, from school, from, all of that, we have a lot of influences on that programming. So it's obsolete at best, and most people are walking around as wounded 7-year-olds. So
Yes.
if you want to know why people are behaving the way they are, you see them in that light. They're wounded 7-year-old who's probably in fear about something.
That's really resonant to what I do in my practice now, is healing the inner child, as we call it, because most of the time our emotional reactions are coming from a place of the wounded inner child, and not being actually able to relate to adult relationships because the inner child's throwing a tantrum or reacting from that space. And once that's healed, it's like, oh, well, now I can show up as my adult self and actually have mature relationships with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I also find, because that's like the third session, we do inner male, inner female, inner child, but, that inner child that has never felt safe, And once you have the inner parents in that, you have that sacred union with the inner family. And so that gives that feeling of safeness, because now they're looking at their parents and they're whole and they're complete and they're loving each other and working together and finally feel safe, in this body on this planet, sometimes for the first time.
Beautiful work. Oh, I'm so excited. And as we wrap up for today's session, would you be able to share a practice or meditation with us in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. 5 minutes is a short time, but how about if we just really kind of take a look at what our inner family looks like? So just taking some full deep breaths and coming into your body. Really feel grounded in your body. If there's any place that's uncomfortable, just breathe some love into those places. And so coming out of your mind, giving the mind the instruction to be a silent observer. Going into your heart space. And just asking now, let's first create a sphere of compassion. So that would be, with your imagination, create a energetic sphere, a bubble out in front of you. And it's spinning at the speed of divine compassion. So it's a very safe and loving space, no judgment in here. Creates a field of compassion inside. And we're going to invite our inner male into the sphere and just ask him to show himself in and represent himself as he is right now. And it could look like a person, it could look like a cartoon character or an actor or just some light feelings. Just get a sense of how he feels right now. And just thanking him for showing up. And he can be dismissed now. Thank you, thank you, thank you for everything you do for us, inner male. All of the thoughts and information processing and protection. Thank you. And calling forward now the inner female and ask her to come into the sphere. And asking her to show us how she is feeling, where she is in her development. And loving her, unconditional love. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your ability to perceive, to feel, to flow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And she can step out of the circle, out of the sphere, and inviting the inner child now. And how does that inner child want to represent? How is it feeling? And you might even see now that there are many inner children. There might be more than one. They might be different genders. They might be different ages. Now let's just see where they are now. If you can get a sense of how they're feeling. Flowing them some love. Letting them know that they are loved unconditionally. Thanking them. Thanking them for their playfulness, for their sense of adventure, exploration, joy. And then we can let them leave the circle and come back, all of our inner family coming back into our heart space. They've been acknowledged. They've been seen. They've been loved. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And coming back now into your present consciousness, filling your body with your presence, with your consciousness.
Thank you, Susanna. I
Yeah.
almost felt like maybe it was like a little bit of grief shifting out of my stomach too. That was phenomenal. Thank you for sharing that meditation with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So it gives people an idea of where they're at right now. And yeah.
It's beautiful. And before we end, I know you have a special gift for the audience members. Would you be able to share a little bit about that with us?
Okay. I think it is the quantum peace activation.
Yes, it is.
That what I sent you? Okay. So that is, I was talking before about the triple flame frequencies together. So that the quantum peace activation uses the triple flame frequencies: divine love, divine wisdom, divine power. And it moves through your energy field, clears out your chakras, clears out your meridian pathways, which are the pathways that our life force energy moves through and goes, is distributed to all the organs and systems. So when that is clear, we feel more healthy. We feel more energized or relaxed, depending on what you're needed. So we start with the I am presence. So connecting with that I am presence, that part of you that is directly connected to source. And then from that place, directing the triple flame through your body, and then bringing you into a state of very deep peace. So I call it quantum peace because it's peace at all levels, all your multi-dimensional levels of your being. So, and then we anchor that in.
I love that so much. Thank you for your generosity in this gift, and everyone can find the link below this video. If they would like to work with you or find you, do you have a website that they can reach you at?
Yeah, it's SuzannaKennedy.com.
Wonderful. Thank you, Susanna, for being here. Thank you, everyone else, for tuning in. I will see you guys in the next masterclass.